saw this video on YouTube. I was wanting to watch it, the whole thing, but I didn't have time, so I was able to only watch like the first couple minutes or so. But it's Candace Owens on one of those Jubilee videos where it's like one anti-feminist versus like 20 feminists or something. And the that show themselves on the show is fantastic. So we've got to do a little live react to this, okay? Ooh. Already out of the gate.
Hello.
Hi there.
How are you? I'm Candace.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Julian, my pronouns are they, them. It's very interesting to think of it when we just think about the gender binary. It's, how do we place value on human beings in general? And so when we think about, placing value, that comes from a place of power, right? So I think let's select like the Victorian era. You have this dominant group of people coming from white supremacy.
Here we go. Coming from white supremacy. What the f*** are you talking about? Shut the fuck up, you pig. She literally looks like a pig. Look at her face. Look at her fat face. Look at that haircut. Look at that fat puggy nose. I know I've got a fat nose, but at least it's not a, what is that called? A pug nose? Ugh. My computer's about to die.
Deciding who gets to have a proper status in the world. And so that is already like taking human beings and devaluing them. And so what the sexual revolution did was to help people seek out empowerment, which increased value, no matter the gender. So when it comes to sexual revolution, let's look at one contribution is sex education. I'm actually an educator. I teach sociology and LGBTQ studies.
You don't say.
And I have absolutely seen the positive outcome with the sexual revolution and sex education.
Don't you love to see that?
And seeing people empower themselves. And with that comes safety when it comes to decreasing STIs, abuse, sexual assault. Again, people get to empower themselves of all genders. And I know earlier you mentioned about violence amongst lesbians and sapphic community, which I do identify within. All genders can be subjected to violence.
That was the point I was making. So I wasn't sure of how her claim was relating to what we were talking about, whether or not it makes people happy or unhappy. Relationships are obviously a ground where there can be violence.
I guess I could just wrap it up by saying, like, if we all have access to like sex education through the incredible work of feminists through the sexual revolution, we are able to gain access to information and gain.
Let's remember that Candace's claim at the beginning of this was women are happier and more fulfilled. Rather than being in the workforce, they are more happy and fulfilled at home with kids. That's her claim. All of this is hogwash, okay? This is what these people do. They don't even know what they're saying. They just go and they learn lib speak, It's like a language. It's like Christian speak. You know what I mean? Not to sound like a heretic, but we all know how to talk really Christian if we wanted to. You know what I mean? You can all turn that on. You can be I'm a Christian, but I know how to like sound like a Christian if I wanted to. There's all these languages to portray certain things. This language of the left is like fucking dude. And they invent these terms and these words and these expressions and they talk about these communities and whatever. They don't even know what it means. It means nothing. It's just word salad.
Hi, this is Anthony Cumia.
Hello, I'm Gavin McInnes.
And together we're Compound Censored.
And we would like you to subscribe with this deal using this promo code right below me right now.
Do it, because it's very entertaining.
Skills to create an equitable society, egalitarian within our relationships, whether it be platonic or romantic. I'm so grateful for those feminists who have fought for us.
You can even tell
so
Candace
we can
is like,
gain those spaces and
about?
Create a healthier society.
Okay, are you a believer in the government doing everything that it can to make people happy?
So when it comes, as someone that teaches in the public sector, I understand the concern when it comes to like, what is a teacher, what kind of information they're providing to the students.
You're providing absolute jack shit to the students. That's what you're providing. And this is why you should not go to college, because this is literally a college professor. This is a college professor. And what is she gonna teach you? You're gonna sit in class for like, what, an hour and a half and learn jack shit. You're gonna learn bullshit. You're going to learn a lot of word salad, hear a lot of yapping, hear a lot of victim complaining, and you're not going to hear anything that even makes sense. She can't even articulate her point, and she teaches on this bullshit.
I do believe that as a teacher, I should be able to give that sort of information. Again, I teach college students. One of my claims is I believe that we should mandate sex education amongst college students. So yes, I do want this.
So you know what that means? That means you and I have to take an extra course, you know? All these prereqs, like there's all those prerequisite classes that you have to get before you can go move on. That means you got another one of those. And that just means more money for them because now you're going to have to pay for that class. It's mandated and you're going to have to pay for that. You know what? I actually think people are good on that. I think people are good. But she wants to be a law that it's mandated that college students have to take a sex ed course because nobody's ever figured that out, right? Yeah, we haven't figured it out because we're just dumb apes.
State, I would like the government to give us those resources so we can implement that curriculum.
Okay. Would you,
Oh my God, she's such a pig. Look at this side profile. She's so ugly. God, imagine like what's going on, you know? And then they wonder why people want Hitler to come back. I wonder why.
yourself a feminist, I'm assuming?
Queer feminist. There's variations, right?
What is a queer feminist as opposed to a feminist, just so I understand?
Well, so I heavily believe in queer theory. So,
What is a queer feminist? I believe in queer theory. What? That's not a definition, asshole.
the gender binary that we understand, it comes from colonization. So someone who is mixed race, family from Mexico,
Mexico. I'm surprised she didn't say Mexico. Mexico. Someone coming from Mexico? Yeah, you really look mixed race.
we have the Mushes in Mexico, which is an indigenous tribe. They believed in gender fluidity. And then you have European colonizers coming who dismantle that. And now everything that we understand when it comes to gender.
Oh boy, they really sound like pretty good guys. They dismantled that bullshit. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Is a Western lens. So from a queer...
So you don't even think women exist, I'm guessing.
I think everyone should be empowered to figure out their identity and explore the language that best describes themselves. So freedom, America, right? America, freedom. And I want to believe in that when it comes to identity. Right. Everyone should have the freedom to decide how they want to identify, as long as they're not causing harm. But that's where we get into the debate, what is harm?
So just, again, to be clear, to go back to this claim, we are debating female happiness. Mm-hmm. You are saying you do not identify as a female.
I identify with all gender expressions, so from masculinity to femininity.
The only thing you identify with, bitch, is ugliness. You're ugly. That's
Are you just saying that as a part of queer theory, you're debating whether or not women are happier after the sexual revolution? I'm just trying to understand, because it seems like you're debating queer theory as opposed to female.
I believe all genders benefit from the sexual revolution.
You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Oh my God.
To the ones who carry.
Y'all, I have this on a Brave. This is from the Brave browser. You guys told me that if I used a Brave browser, I would not get ads. So what is this? This is an ad. This is an ad. Which oh my God, another ad. And this is literally with the Brave browser. By the way, I love how in this ad she's talking to a black guy as if he's a genius.
Hello.
I'm Zena.
Zena, very much like your name.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God,
Nice
this
to meet you.
Can we
bitch
start
is
with
a
the beginning?
bitch.
Do you identify as a female?
I identify as a woman, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So I do want to get back to your premise. You're saying that women have been devalued, right, by the sexual revolution. This kind of presumes two things. One, that there has been a loss of worth, right, for women. So you're saying that women have, as human beings, lost worth.
I'll tell you how we've lost worth, since we're not seen as since we're not seen as anything different, since we're just seen as equal. Now we don't have the worth to be shown deference, you know? So we've been we don't have the same worth. You know what I mean? Since women have insisted on being men, now we get treated like men. I'd rather get treated like a girl, you know? I mean, I'm not the most feminine person. We all know that, obviously. But it's we have lost worth, thanks to you fuckers.
Women who, prior to their sexual revolution, were worth more than women today.
I would say that, yes, women have devalued themselves by becoming overtly
According
sexual. That's my claim. So, I mean, also according to and let's not remove this from the other part of the claim, which it has made women infinitely less happy.
Right. So you're saying that according to you, women have been devalued?
Not according to me. according to the time in which people are getting married, how difficult it is for people to find a partner that's willing to commit to them. And I think that's in large part due to the fact that women are offering sex for free, because it was a major component of the sexual revolution was this idea.
So a woman's worth is tied to her sexuality.
It's not tied to, well, absolutely. If you're going to be having multiple partners, you are going to be devaluing yourself.
You're worth less as a human being.
Not as a human being, just, in terms of.
These people are so dramatic. Like, it's like these that are like, well, oh, so you don't want us to adopt children, so you don't think we should exist? You think we should be genocided? No. Okay? Let's not take it to such extremes.
Trying to have a partnership and a productive relationship, certainly men are not going to be clamoring to have a relationship with somebody when there's the market is growing them.
A man's response to your actions is what defines your worth, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. I would say that I would argue that what makes women.
I thought that was such a gotcha. Did you see that little look? What a dumbass. Yeah, it actually is. Why else are women constantly fighting with each other? Because they want the men's attention. They have to fight off all the other competition so that they can get the man. I'm sorry, bitch, but it's true. I mean, even for a man, if you can think about it even from a man's lens, a woman is what somewhat in some ways defines his value. Why do they go to work? Why do they try to get nice cars? It's not just so that they can live in luxury, although that's nice and that's a big factor of it, but it's so that they can impress girls and get the top tier girls, right? That's what everybody's really doing. At the end of the day, we're all vying for the best person to marry so that we can have kids and maintain the bloodline, okay? I'm sorry, but that's true. That's how you get your validation. That's why people try to look nice, is so they can get validated and possibly catch somebody from the opposite sex as a husband or wife, okay? So it works both ways, and this is not the gotcha you think. You stupid.
When actually happy is family. So if you're interrupting, so just to connect the dots for you, when women are having sex with multiple partners, it devalues them for men, right?
For men. So,
yes. So
men define a woman's worth.
Well, I would say both of them kind of define one another's worth, because I think the ultimate goal for people to be happy is actually family.
Okay, yeah. So you're saying
not work.
In all cases, a woman is going to be more fulfilled in regards to family.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And this is going to work in all cases. So you're saying there's no individual case in which a woman can feel, fulfilled without being tied to other people in the case of family.
I think there could be an exceptional case for everything.
These people, this is the problem. They always they have no common sense. They want to get you on a technicality. Since they can't argue the actual point, they're like, oh, so you're saying it's all. So there's never been an exception? There's a reason why that's called the exception, not the rule, okay? Not the rule. That's why stereotypes are true.
I think there are exceptional cases, but I think that if we all start trying to be the exception as opposed to recognizing the rule, which is that people in life are more fulfilled when they achieve a family unit and when they have children, women in particular, especially aspiring to children, then you are going to end up with a bunch of people who are unhappy because your job cannot replace the feeling of having a family.
So what you're saying is we need to look at every individual case and see what is going to fulfill you or what is going to...
When you look at the profile, all the makeup can't hide the fact that she looks like a literal ape. I'm sorry, it's true.
I guess, essentially predict your happiness more. Because if we look at, for example, the Nordic countries, right? These are countries, I'm talking about like Sweden, Denmark, right? These countries tend to be like, I think in the past 14 years, they've been ranked.
Boring.
All right, face it. Your life is a complete mess right now.
The actual
laundry's not
fuck
folded. You haven't
is
exercised in
going
weeks.
on?
You're spending way.
Oh my god. Okay,
Hi.
you can already tell.
I like your hat.
Can we stop wearing these fucking stupid ass hats? These dumbass hats? These are people who think they moved to like Arizona and build an Adobe style house, and now they're all of a sudden like, I don't know, one with the land. They're like a nativist. You know, they're the ones that like put feathers and shit everywhere and like put native things and rugs. I get it's an aesthetic choice. I get it's an architectural interior design choice. But can we stop with the fucking hats, okay? I don't think I've ever met a person wearing one of those hats that wasn't entirely annoying and insufferable. Stop. It makes you look like a bitch. It makes you look like a stupid cunt, and it needs to end. Sorry about that, but it's true.
Shanahan, nice to meet you. I am fascinated by your claim that...
Dude. when somebody comes up with this feigned niceness, like I'm a professional, so I'm going to do the sandwich method. First of all, I'm going to say something nice, and then I'm going to say something mean, and then I'll sandwich it back in with something nice again. Let's just get to the point, bitch. You hate my guts and you think you're superior. And she sidles over and gives her full name. Okay.
Women have lost happiness since the sexual revolution, since the 1950s. Do you think that there's any tie to happiness and freedom and happiness and choice? Because since 1950s, since the sexual revolution, women have gotten exponentially more freedom and more choice. And for me, as a
Candace's facial expressions are really great for this too.
mother and as a woman, having the freedom to choose what I do, to make my own destiny, makes me infinitely more happy than, say, back before the sexual revolution when I couldn't get a bank account, couldn't get a home loan, couldn't work outside the home, couldn't travel around without a man, couldn't control my own reproduction. So
imagine having a kid, like she said she's a mother. Imagine having a kid and one of the things that's really important to you is the ability to kill any future kids. That must be a weird thing as a child whose mother is like super pro-abortion. That must be weird.
I feel that happiness, personally, my belief, is tied to our ability to have freedom. And I think that in the United States, protecting freedom and our individual freedoms is what's going to lead us to happiness.
Did you go to college?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Did you?
So yes, I did. So you have a degree.
Absolutely.
Now, when you went to college, did you go to college because it was simply something that you wanted to do, or did you think that I have to go to college because in order to get a job, I have to have a college degree?
I went to college for art because I was fascinated with art.
Okay. It's just answering my question. Did you
You
go?
went to college for art because art's an easy degree to get, okay? And it's a bullshit degree. If you're a good artist, you don't have to go to college to learn how to be an artist. You just naturally have that skill and you produce good art. And then you become a successful artist. You don't go to college for art, okay?
To college? Was that the only reason you went to college, or did you think that I might want to do something in art, so I have to go to college, like for my career?
I went to school because I wanted to expand my horizons. I mean, I think that's why most people go to university.
No,
Why
so
did you go?
That's actually not
Oh,
true.
she's so condescending. You can tell these two hate each other's guts too, by the way.
I went, and I think a lot of people go because there's a pressure that if you don't go to college, you're going to be a failure.
It's a choice. Everything's a choice. So
Also, it probably burns her up too that Candace is black, so she can't really rip into her because she would be risking being called racist. So she's in a really funny spot. She absolutely hates Candace's guts, but she can't really express it like she would if Candace was white because Candace is black. It truly is a secret weapon.
Okay.
Taking away choices doesn't make people happier. Taking away freedom doesn't make people happier.
I'm disagreeing with you on the idea that people are feeling more free by financial pressure. I think financial pressure makes people feel remarkably less free.
So you want no bank accounts again? Women not to have credit cards?
I'm
no
not
bank
saying
accounts?
that women shouldn't have access to credit cards or banking accounts. You're putting words in my mouth, so why don't you respond to the words that I'm saying?
Well, less financial pressure. If I don't have a bank account, that's a lot less financial pressure, I guess, right?
Financial pressure in terms of most people that go to college, and I'm counting myself among them, it's because typically in order to get the job that you're being sold is going to make you infinitely happier and infinitely more free, it just requires a college degree. And most of these people, to be clear, have to put themselves, the majority of people have to put themselves into debt. And I don't think anybody would describe debt as a form of freedom, right? I don't think anybody would realistically say...
Let's get back to happiness. So we're here to talk about happiness and how the sexual revolution, and we're not talking about college debt.
I think it's important because...
Yeah, but part of the sexual revolution was women being independent. So now they are out in the workforce. They do have their own shit going on. They do go to college, and now they are faced with debt, which is a real problem.
We're talking about freedom. You just said that the reason why I feel happy is because I have more freedom. And I am saying that financial restraints and debt doesn't make people feel more free.
So let's eliminate the debt. Let's eliminate college debt. Maybe we should have free college here in the U.S. That sounds great. Great idea, Candace. I love that idea. All right.
Okay.
Love it. Woo! Champion for the people. Girl.
Those people, the fact that everybody was laughing as if that was so funny, that literally was not even funny. She's such a bitch.
Very nice.
All right, return to your seat.
Surrounded is now a podcast.
Oh my God, literally
available
no one
wherever
wants
you
to listen to your
listen.
gay-ass
Search
podcast.
Surrounded,
Shut the fuck
plug in.
up. If this does another ad, I'm killing every one of the censored subscribers because you all fucking lied to me in the You all fucking lied to me in the comments saying that download Brave, dumbass. You're just using Chrome, dumbass. If you just downloaded Brave, you wouldn't have any more ads to deal with. Well, let's see. Now who's talking, huh? Let's see what this blonde bitch had to say. Actually, maybe I want to get a... Oh, this girl's insufferable. I actually hate her. She's like an OnlyFans girl, but I think she's like an attorney or something. I don't know.
Bear out when you look at the stats, when you look at how working mothers are way less likely to be in poverty. Maternal education is the #1 predictor of childhood outcomes, better scores, getting higher incomes in the future, fewer behavioral problems, better mental health. So it's weird to me and college-educated women are least likely to get divorced, and they're the only women, the top 10%
That's because they're
of
the
women
least
are
likely
the
to
only
get
women
married.
whose marriage rates are going up. So they're getting married, they're staying married, and their kids are doing better. When you look at stay-at-home mothers, you see that they're more likely to report being depressed, they're more likely to report having anxiety and anger and all these types of things. So how can you say that? Seems like a woman, if you want to get married and have kids, you should go to college and have a career.
So it sounds to me like we are looking at totally different statistics, because everything that you said, I've actually read the exact opposite.
I'm glad we're on a fact check show with you.
Right, exactly.
Oh, it's so exciting.
That's going to be amazing. Okay, because I know, like I said, I think what we're talking about is that there was this widespread report on female happiness, and I know that it was formally debunked, and it was
That's not what I'm talking about. Pew Research, University of California. In fact, working mothers today spend more time with their children than women did in the 1960s that were at home.
Okay, well, women that are at home are obviously spending more time with their children than the people who are at work.
And their
today.
children are not faring off any better, and they're faring off worse.
How are you measuring their children faring off worse?
How likely they are to higher incomes, better scores, fewer health problems, fewer behavioral issues, and better mental.
So the just to get back to the claim that I'm making here is that it is obvious that women who have children are going to be more fulfilled.
How is that obvious? Because you said so?
No, it's
Again,
not obvious
funny.
because I said so. It's because when you look at all the statistics in terms of women who are choosing not to have families, they are, as the person who just sat here before you mentioned, they are suffering from more depression. They're suffering from more anxiety. And
that's not true.
Okay, it is true. It is actually true that women who are choosing their careers over starting families are finding themselves leaning more onto medicines like Xanax, anxiety-inducing medicines, and depression, because they suspended that time frame where women really should be looking to find a partner and to start a family, because they were instead pursuing their careers.
And why are they better off?
It is a dishonest. It is totally a dishonest narrative
By
that
the way,
men and women
half
want
of
the
these
same
stats
things
are
out of life.
bullshit
We
too,
don't.
by the way.
We absolutely do not want the same things out of life. In fact, we don't even measure success the same. Men and women don't even measure success the same.
So,
okay?
but tell me how the women who are working and getting educated, why are they faring off better in all of these?
I am telling you that I do not believe they are faring off better in all of these measures.
Because of what?
I am telling you that we are looking at totally opposite statistics. So you're sitting here telling me that the statistics show that women who are working are producing better children, but I am saying that women that grow up in a two-family home where the mother stays at home are faring off better than the children who are being raised in an environment
where the women are working,
where both of the parents are
why don't
working
you
away
stay
from the
home?
home. I do get to work from home.
No. But
that's the irony.
I mean,
that's
I've
why
watched your show. You talk about all the nannies you hire, and it's so hard to find a good nanny.
I talked about all of the nannies I hire.
Yeah, you have.
I spoke about how difficult it was to find a babysitter who knew how to cook a meal, and that's because
you don't need a babysitter. You're already. You could retire right now.
You have to let people respond to you when they're speaking.
You don't want to.
To respond to you when
you don't want to. You want to be working, which is great.
I actually do in some way kind of side with her. If I had all of Candace's money, I wouldn't be working. If I was married to a billionaire and had this massive rock, why would you even want to do it? No shade to her. I'm just saying, why would you even want to?
Telling me what I want now and then accusing me of telling you.
Wait, you don't want to work?
Can you just let me finish? Because you've said so many words that what you're trying to do here, like your argument style, is I'm going to say so much and not let her get a word in and then walk away and feel like I've won. We're not having a conversation because you've not letting me respond to even one of your points.
Go for it.
Okay? What I am saying to you, first to answer what you just said, which was a lie, what I spoke to you about on the weekends is that it's been increasingly difficult to find a 25-year-old who even knows how to make boxed macaroni and cheese, right? And that's crazy. That is in large part due to feminism. Women don't even focus. Like there's this idea that women shouldn't be cooking. Like there's something fundamentally wrong with women even learning how to cook.
Are you
know what I mean?
spending as much time with your children as you possibly can? Because that's the way to get the most fulfillment.
No, and that's what I'm trying to say. I am speaking to you
then stop.
Okay, could you please let somebody get in
I
a
did.
word
I
edgewise?
let you finish.
You're not. You
I
actually
did.
have not let anybody finish. And like I said, it's no one benefits when you're just speaking over me and not allowing me to respond. All you're proving is that you have an attitude and you believe in feminism, but you're not. See, that's what I'm saying. You just have an attitude, and it's not cute. It's performative.
I'd love if you address my point. I will be quiet if you address my point.
Does anybody actually feel here that I am being allowed to address any of her points when she just keeps running over me? Like I'm literally trying to answer your first point of you saying that I don't stay at home.
Yeah,
fair point.
Really weird. Yeah.
Fair point. Obviously, I get that you're all anti-Candace and pro-feminist, but also it's not productive if you're not actually.
Okay, address the point. You spend more time saying that I'm not addressing, that you don't have a chance to talk. I mean, the whole time you could have addressed the point. Okay. You could have talked.
I
go for it.
Just want you to know that you're not coming across as somebody who wants to actually have a conversation. So to get back to the claim, because I don't even know where you're at. You're now talking. You're saying that I said stuff in my podcast.
I'll go wherever you want to go.
I never said.
I'll go wherever.
So do you want to start with me working at home?
You know what I find the most offensive about all of this is that this bitch, this whore in the blue dress, she claims to be like, she's like an OnlyFans prostitute. You know the one thing that a prostitute and a whore is supposed to offer to men is like the ideal girl, right? They pay for their dream girl for the night, right? That's her one job. Your one job is to be the ideal woman for a guy for a few hours. That's literally it. I would say she's the embodiment of all men's worst nightmare right now. This bitch in the blue is the embodiment of every man's worst nightmare. She won't shut the fuck up. She's being smug, she's being annoying, she's being argumentative. She won't let anybody get their point across. She's doing all these little jabs and really? She has all this attitude. Like, you have one job and it's to be a whore, and you can't even do that right. What an L.
Because I work at home. You just said something about me working at home.
You travel all around the world.
Okay,
you do speeches, and I love that. I love how ambitious you are. That's a really great trait. And if you were truly said that, you would be more fulfilled. Now, one thing you do find is women, they don't want to stay at home when you pull them. They just want flexible working hours and flexible working conditions like you have. And I think we should all advocate for that. It's not one or the other. But when you sit here and you go, you'll be more fulfilled doing this, then spend all your time doing that. We would love for you to leave the public eye and go focus on what makes you fulfilled.
Okay.
Ugh, she's so fucking fat. Did you see that fat
before we go
ass?
any further, we want to take a moment to say
I've got to end it here, okay? This is pissing me off. There's nothing worse. We got to talk about fat broads. There's nothing worse than a fat chick who's got a fucking attitude, okay? I gained 5 pounds and I'm humble pie. I am fucking eating crow 24/7. I am humble pie. The last thing you're going to catch me doing is talking with some attitude and being annoying. When I'm thin, I have a little bit more right to do that. If you're fat, shut the fuck up, please. I've always said this. Sometimes you'll see a super obese person and sometimes they're like the sweetest person ever. And so you're like, wow, you're a really sweet person. And it kind of distracts you from the fact that they're a whale. But then when you see these fat people and they have this attitude, because it's almost like, I'm fat and what are you going to do about it? And you better not notice. You know what I mean? They have like a massive attitude. It makes them 20,000 times more ugly. So fat people, shut the fuck up. Shut the actual fuck up. Nobody wants to hear you. Ugh. Dude, that was actually really annoying. I now kind of understand a little bit of where the women haters are coming from. 'Cause those girls, wow. If you were just like sampling from a sample size of like these kind of feminist lefty girls, I would hate women too. I guess I'm just like, I've always been raised in like the country and in conservative areas, so girls just were not like that. You know, the girls I knew are just not like that. So I'm like, I don't get it. Why does everybody think that we're all like this? But I guess a ton of them in like cities and wherever. I mean, granted, they are getting the worst of the worst for those shows. But wow, were they annoying? Were they annoying or were they annoying? And then, of course, you have the few token soida Wow, I can't talk, dude. My brain's been fried. Soy beta males in there who are pro-feminist. Of course, the only reason they're pro-feminist is because they're trying to get laid. By the way, ladies, as somebody who would know this firsthand, the only person who is going to be a threat to you in college, and that rape culture of what college supposedly is the beta male, is the guy you would never suspect. The guy that acts like he's so sweet. The guy that acts like he's not a threat. He may even come across as a little gay. That's the person you have to watch out for. That's the person to look out for. That's the person not to get drunk around. That's the person to never allow into your home because you think, oh, this guy's harmless. He can just come hang out with the friends. That's the person to look out for. It's not the Chads. It's not the big, the burly, big macho alpha dudes that they portray in movies, that those are the rapists and those are the predators. They're not. As somebody who went to college, I have experienced this firsthand. I know what I'm fucking talking about. The Chads are the most respectful people you will ever meet. They will never force themselves on you. They will take the hint. You don't even have to tell them no. They'll just take the hint. They don't need to force themselves on you because they're not sneaks, because they get tons of they're out there. They have better morals and integrity. They don't have a chip on their shoulder, and they don't have to sneak and be sly and manipulative in order to get laid, because girls flock to them.
So if you enjoyed that clip,
then subscribe to Compound Censored using this promo code.